There's something chilling about a lie dressed up as royalty. A story so polished, so protected, that the world never questioned it until now. For years, we believed Meghan Markle gave birth to baby Archie in a quiet, private royal moment. There were official announcements, a few glowing photos, and then silence. No questions allowed. No inconsistencies examined. Just a beautiful royal birth, wrapped in PR and passed off as truth. But now, that perfect story is falling apart. Because the very hospital Meghan claimed to have used has come forward with a shocking denial. They have no record of her ever being there. Not in labor. Not delivering. Not even walking through the door. And that changes everything. What started as speculation is starting to look a lot more like exposure. A royal birth that may never have happened the way we were told. A mystery deep enough to call into question Archie's place in the royal bloodline. Is this just media noise? Or has Meghan Markle been hiding something this entire time? This is the story the palace doesn't want you to hear. And the deeper you go, the more disturbing it becomes. The hospital bombshell. It all unravels with one sentence. One quiet, clinical statement from a hospital that should have remained just another footnote in a royal fairy tale. We have no record of Meghan Markle being admitted, delivering, or present at our facility. That's not gossip. That's not speculation. That's a direct denial from the very place Meghan and Harry claimed she gave birth. Think about that for a second. A royal baby. A global announcement. And yet, no hospital logs. No security footage. No medical records. No staff confirmations. Nothing. Not even a whisper in the system. This isn't some shadowy tip from a tabloid. This is coming from an official medical institution, a place that documents every patient who walks through its doors. They have the staff logs, the electronic records, the security systems. They know who is there, and Meghan Markle's name never appeared. That's not a minor discrepancy. That's not a clerical error. That's a complete contradiction to the birth story the world was fed in 2019. And suddenly, the story changes. Because if Meghan didn't deliver there, where did it happen? Or did it even happen the way they claimed it all? Now, critics aren't just calling out Meghan for bending the truth. They're accusing her of orchestrating a full-scale deception. One that rewrites not just a chapter of her life, but the birth of a royal child. The implications? They go far beyond gossip columns. Because if this piece of the story is false, what else was staged? And more importantly, why lie at all? The picture-perfect lie? When Meghan Markle first stepped into the spotlight holding baby Archie, the world applauded. She looked radiant, flawless hair, glowing skin, the perfect smile. It was the image of a proud new mother. But something about it felt too perfect. No signs of exhaustion. No hint of pain or recovery. Just an effortless debut, without a single trace of what childbirth usually leaves behind. And then there was the setting. No hospital hallway. No iconic steps. No flashes of maternity wards behind her. Compare that to Princess Diana or Kate Middleton, women who walked out of hospitals still recovering, still raw, still real. They stood on those famous steps in front of the world, holding their babies, faces weary but proud. That's royal tradition. Meghan and Harry? They skipped all of it. No crowd. No press. No footage of their arrival or departure. Just a few tightly controlled photos in a white hallway that could have been anywhere. At the time, people gave her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she wanted privacy. Maybe she bounced back quickly. Maybe she was just lucky. But in light of the hospital's recent statement, where they claimed she was never even there, those polished baby photos begin to feel rehearsed. Was it all a carefully managed image? A PR move to control the narrative? Because now, when people look at those first photos of Meghan holding Archie, they're not admiring her glow anymore. They're asking the unthinkable. Was she ever pregnant at all? Missing footage and mysterious timeline. The timeline was always strange, but now it feels downright suspicious. The palace first announced that Meghan was in labor. Hours later, suddenly, the baby had already been born. No build-up. No media frenzy outside the hospital. No royal correspondent breathlessly counting contractions. Just a quiet message out of nowhere, saying Archie was here, the official story shifted in real time. From she's in labor to he's already born. And nobody blinked. Because why would they? It was Meghan and Harry. They wanted privacy, and people respected that. Until it started to look like privacy was a cover for something else. Let's talk about the footage, or more specifically, the lack of it. No photos of Meghan being wheeled into a maternity wing. No video of a black car pulling up to a hospital entrance. No media camped outside with cameras, as is royal tradition. Not a single shot of them entering or leaving a medical facility on that day, or any day close to it. Compare that with what we've seen before. Diana and Kate both walked out of St. Mary's Hospital with their newborns in their arms, facing hundreds of photographers. It was part of the unspoken royal contract, public life, public milestones. But Meghan and Harry? They disappeared. They vanished during one of the most monumental moments in any royal's life, the birth of a child in the line of succession. And when they finally reappeared, they stood in a sterile white hallway, no hospital logos, no medical staff, no press. Just them, a photographer, and a baby somewhere. This wasn't just doing things differently. This was erasing the standard entirely. And when the hospital itself now says she was never there. That silence, that missing footage, those vanishing hours in the timeline, they all start to look like pieces of a puzzle we were never meant to solve. Because if Meghan didn't give birth there, where did she give birth? And more alarmingly, did she give birth at all? The surrogacy theory resurfaces. At first, it sounded absurd. A wild internet rumor buried deep in conspiracy blogs and whispered only in fringe forums. But now, the question that once seemed outrageous is suddenly impossible to ignore. Did Meghan Markle use a surrogate and lie about it? Back then, people dismissed the theory as cruel tabloid gossip. The kind of thing trolls throw around when they run out of real criticism. But the more you look closely, carefully, the more the cracks begin to show. Clips from Meghan's pregnancy are resurfacing. And they're strange. In one video, her baby bump appears high and round. In another, it's noticeably lower and flatter. Then there's that clip. The one where she bends down, and her bump seems to fold. Not shift. Not jiggle. Fold. At the time, it was explained away as a wardrobe glitch. Bad angles. Poor tailoring. But now, those same clips are being dissected frame by frame. Slowed down, zoomed in, and studied like evidence in a criminal trial. And what people are seeing is unsettling. Some moments just don't line up with how real pregnancies behave. It's not just the shifting shape, it's how her walk changed. How she could wear stilettos in her third trimester without any visible discomfort. How she seemed so agile, so unbothered. It's not proof. It's not confirmation. But it's enough to make people wonder. Was the bump real, or was it a prop? And if it was staged, why go through all the trouble? Because here's the truth. Surrogacy is not shameful. Celebrities and royals alike have used it. In today's world, it's a choice millions respect and understand. So if Meghan did choose that path, she had every right. But here's the catch, lying about it is something else entirely. Because that lie wasn't private, it was public. It came with photo shoots, interviews, baby showers, and a carefully crafted image of a glowing mother-to-be. If it was all performance? It wasn't just deception, it was manipulation. And once you start faking something that intimate, you don't just lose trust. You risk losing your entire story. Because if the pregnancy wasn't real, what else was manufactured? Strategic silence. Sometimes, the loudest message is the one you don't send. And Meghan Markle's silence? It's starting to sound like a confession. Since the hospital released its stunning denial, stating Meghan was never admitted, never gave birth, and never even entered the building, her team has said nothing. No clarification. No denial. Not even a vague statement about protecting her privacy. And if you followed Meghan's playbook, you know, this isn't accidental. She doesn't jump into messy headlines. She waits. She watches. Then she responds on her terms in a soft-lit interview with pre-approved questions, emotional music, and a perfectly timed moment of vulnerability. But this time, the script may be slipping. Because silence doesn't work when the facts are louder than the rumors. And people have noticed. Even Meghan's most loyal fans are starting to feel the tension. They're asking questions she isn't answering. And when a story starts to unravel, the longer you stay quiet, the faster the threads come undone. The truth is, silence isn't just about privacy anymore. It feels like strategy. Because what could she possibly say now? Deny the hospital's records? Claim a mistake in documentation? Say it was a different facility altogether? Every option opens another door, another question, another timeline she'd have to explain. So instead, she does what she's always done when the heat rises, she vanishes. And lets the mystery grow. But the thing about mysteries is this. When you don't fill in the blanks, the public will. And they're not kind storytellers. In the age of internet sleuths, slowed down videos, and viral frame-by-frame breakdowns, the truth doesn't stay hidden for long. Especially when people start connecting the dots and realize you're not helping them make sense of any of it. Meghan's silence might have worked once. But now? It's not just raising eyebrows, it's raising alarms. Because if there's nothing to hide, why is she hiding at all? The royal protocol was broken. In the royal family, everything has a script. From weddings to funerals, from first steps to final farewells, protocol is sacred. Especially when it comes to births. For generations, royal babies have entered the world with a kind of ceremonial transparency. Not just for show, but to maintain public trust in the monarchy. Princess Diana followed it. Kate Middleton followed it 3 times. They gave birth at the prestigious Lindo wing of St. Mary's Hospital. And within hours, they stood, often exhausted, still in pain on the steps outside, holding their newborns for the world to see. It wasn't about glamour. It was about tradition. The people saw the baby. The media captured the moment. The palace confirmed every detail. Time of birth. Hospital. Doctors. Birth certificate. Nothing left to speculation. Now compare that to Meghan and Harry. No hospital. No steps. No doctors publicly named. No crowd outside. No footage of them entering or exiting a facility. Instead, a tightly staged photo shoot in a hallway no one recognized. With lighting so controlled it looked more like a magazine spread than a birth announcement. And for the first time in modern royal history, there was no full birth certificate released immediately. When it finally did appear, it had odd omissions. The hospital wasn't listed. The delivering physician wasn't named. And Meghan was referred to only as Her Royal Highness Rachel Meghan. It all felt off. Like something was being withheld. Because in the world of royalty, protocol isn't just a formality, it's a safeguard. It protects the line of succession. It reassures the public that everything is as it should be. That the monarchy is legitimate, documented, and above question. But with Archie, the script was tossed aside. And the palace? They let it happen. That silence, again, feels strategic. Not just from Meghan, but from the entire royal institution. If the Queen herself signed off on Archie's title, was she fully informed? Or was this a moment where royal tradition collided with private ambition and someone blinked? Because if the crown didn't uphold protocol, what else have they quietly allowed to slip through the cracks? What if Archie was born via surrogate? Let's ask the question everyone's been too afraid to ask out loud. What if Archie was born via surrogate? Not as a smear, not as a conspiracy, but as a legitimate possibility. One that Meghan and Harry chose to keep private. But in doing so, may have crossed a line from privacy into deception. Surrogacy isn't controversial anymore. In fact, in elite circles, especially among celebrities, it's increasingly common. Actresses, influencers, even royals from other countries have used surrogates and been celebrated for their honesty. So why hide it? Why the props, the poses, the public pregnancy that now looks more and more like a production? If Meghan had simply said she chose surrogacy, the world might have understood. But instead, we got maternity photo shoots, baby bump cradles, interviews about pregnancy cravings. We got a narrative. And that's the part that feels wrong. Because if Archie wasn't born of Meghan's body, and that detail was deliberately covered up, then this isn't just a personal choice anymore. It's a carefully staged illusion. A royal birth faked for the cameras. A child presented to the world under false pretenses. And whether you love or hate the monarchy, you can't ignore the legal weight of that. Because in royal succession, lineage matters. It's not symbolic, it's constitutional. If Archie was born by a surrogate, British law allows it, but only if it's declared. The birth must be officially documented. The woman who carried the child must be listed. And most importantly, the biological relationship must be verified. If those steps weren't followed, it raises one massive question. Is Archie's place in the royal line secure or built on a legal gray area? Now, whispers are surfacing. Some insiders claim the surrogate wasn't from the UK at all, that she was part of a highly confidential arrangement overseas, locked behind NDAs and legal walls. And that would explain everything. The missing hospital records, the absence of photos, the inconsistency in timelines. Because the less you show, the less you're forced to explain. But here's the real tragedy in all this. It's not about Meghan. It's not even about the monarchy. It's about Archie, an innocent child who may grow up in the shadow of a question mark, who may one day inherit a title wrapped in uncertainty, not tradition. All because the truth, whatever it was hidden for the sake of an image. And in royalty, image can only take you so far, before the truth demands a reckoning. The fallout, public doubt, and institutional risk. At first, it was just whispers. Then, it became questions. Now, it's a full-blown crisis of confidence. The mystery surrounding Archie's birth has done more than cast doubt on Meghan Markle. It's sent shockwaves through an institution that survives on perception. Because in the monarchy, appearance isn't just optics, it's currency. And when that currency loses value, everything starts to unravel. Let's be clear, this isn't just about whether Meghan gave birth. It's about the integrity of the royal family. Because if one of the most sacred royal milestones, a birth, was fabricated, obscured, or staged, then what else has been compromised? Public faith in the monarchy has already been eroding in recent years. Scandals, divisions, and generational clashes have taken their toll. But this hits at the very heart of royal legitimacy, the bloodline. Archie is not just Meghan and Harry's son. He's a royal heir, eighth in line to the British throne. His existence affects constitutional documents, succession law, and dynastic continuity. And now that cracks are showing in the narrative, the public isn't asking for gossip, they're demanding answers. The silence from Buckingham Palace isn't helping. They've said nothing. No clarification. No statement. And that silence feels less like protocol and more like panic. Because here's the problem. If the palace investigates and finds something was hidden, it must act. But if it ignores the growing controversy, it risks looking complicit. That's the bind. And then there's Harry, a prince by blood, a soldier, a father. But now, some are wondering, was he part of the deception or a victim of it? If he knew about a surrogate, did he help cover it up? If he didn't know, what does that say about how much control he truly had? Either way, his image, once the most beloved royal since Diana, is now tangled in a web of doubt. Meanwhile, the British public is growing impatient. Taxpayers funded royal security, travel, and renovations for Meghan and Harry before they stepped back. They bought into the idea of a modern, relatable royal couple, transparent, honest, grounded. Now they're wondering if they were lied to. And that's the real fallout. Not a tabloid scandal, but a trust crisis. Not just in Meghan, but in the very system that crowned her. Because once the public starts questioning a royal baby's legitimacy, they start questioning everything. The marriage, the monarchy, the future. And the crown has always survived on one thing above all: belief. When belief dies, the institution dies with it. What if it was all a lie? What if everything we thought we knew was a lie? Not just the hospital, not just the baby bump, not just the birth certificate. The entire narrative. Meghan Markle's royal chapter was supposed to be a revolution. The fresh air the monarchy desperately needed. A modern duchess. A woman of color. A champion for change. She told us she was silenced. She told us she was isolated. She told us she was finally speaking her truth. But now the public is asking, whose truth was it? Because if Meghan didn't carry Archie, if the pregnancy was staged, If the palace was misled, then we're not talking about a personal decision anymore. We're talking about the greatest PR illusion the royal family has ever seen. The bump, the maternity shoot, the baby showers, the interviews, all choreographed with precision. A narrative designed to evoke sympathy, admiration, even applause. And maybe it worked. For years, Meghan controlled the story. She won hearts. She secured brand deals. She built an empire on authenticity. But what happens to that empire when the foundation cracks? Because if this story doesn't hold, if Archie's birth wasn't what it seemed, then everything built on top of it becomes suspect. The Oprah interview, the mental health claims, the image of the silenced woman fighting a cruel institution. It all starts to look like a very different kind of strategy. Not survival, but manipulation. And the scariest part? If this was all orchestrated, it worked. For a while. Until the questions got too loud. Until the footage resurfaced. Until the hospital spoke. Until the silence became deafening. And now Meghan is backed into a corner. Because if she speaks, the truth may undo her. If she stays quiet, the lies speak for themselves. But what's left when the fairy tale unravels? When the princess doesn't turn out to be what she claimed? When the palace, the baby, the love story are all tangled in doubt? What's left is Archie, a child born into legacy, now caught in controversy. His story should have been royal history. Instead, it may become a case study in illusion, control, and the cost of a lie. Because at the heart of this scandal isn't just a mother, a baby, or a palace. It's a single, brutal question. What if none of it was real?